Welcome to Sacred Sleep Whisper, a space where magic and calm come together to create moments of profound peace. Today, I invite you to embark on a unique journey where Saint Germain's violet flame will embrace your mind and heart, helping to transmute dense energies and open the doors to restorative sleep. Our story is full of symbols of transformation and will take you to a mystical Gardenia place that only appears under the light of a full moon. Find a comfortable spot, sit, or lie down in a quiet place, free from distractions. Close your eyes, feel safe and protected. Imagine you are about to step into a magical realm where your imagination and energy can be renewed. The violet flame is a powerful spiritual symbol, an energy of transmutation that transforms limitations and blockages into freedom and clarity. During our story, allow yourself to be enveloped by this flame and let it guide you through a transformative experience. Now, take a deep breath. Inhale through your nose, feeling the air filling your lungs, and exhale slowly through your mouth, letting go of all tension. Feel your feet relaxing as if they are gently wrapped in a warm light. Let that relaxation move slowly upward through your legs, hips, back, and shoulders, allowing every muscle to soften. Imagine a gentle light surrounding your entire body, creating a protective field around you. This light is the violet flame, gently purifying your thoughts and emotions. As you breathe, visualize this flame glowing within you, becoming stronger and illuminating your inner path. Now that your body and mind are ready, let yourself be carried away by a magical story. Today, you will hear about a mystical garden, a place that only appears under the light of a full moon. Two unlikely members of a noble family will uncover the secrets of this garden, triggering an ancient prophecy that will change their destinies forever. This story is more than just a tale. It is a mirror of inner transformation. Like the garden, you too hold hidden secrets, waiting to bloom when touched by the right light. Let yourself be carried by the words, the magic of the narrative, and allow the violet flame to guide you through this universe of discovery and renewal. The fresh morning air enveloped the small village of Fjordsdalen, a secluded haven in Norway surrounded by towering mountains and deep forests. It was a land of contrasts. Mysterious mists dancing among the pines, and crystalline lakes reflecting the sky. The sound of birds singing and the rustling of leaves under Elyse's feet created a natural symphony that accompanied her as she walked through the nearby woods, as she did every morning. The scent of wildflowers and the earthy aroma of moss filled the air, while she carried a basket of herbs she was gathering for her grandmother. Her steps were light, almost silent, as if she didn't want to disturb the magical quietude of the place. The murmur of a nearby stream and the distant song of a rare bird completed the serene atmosphere. Since childhood, Elyse felt a deep connection with nature. It wasn't just the beauty of the trees or the scent of the flowers that enchanted her. but an invisible, pulsating presence that seemed to guide her steps. Many in the village saw her as strange, a reserved young woman who preferred the company of forest creatures to the fellowship of others. However, Elyse knew there was something more, something she didn't yet understand, but felt vibrating in every fiber of her being. One morning, as she followed a trail that deepened into the forest, Elyse noticed something different. The wind, which usually blew softly among the trees, seemed to whisper in her direction. She stopped and closed her eyes, letting herself be enveloped by that sound. It wasn't just the wind, they were words, an ancient melody that, although incomprehensible, seemed to call her. Guided by this intuition, she veered off the usual path and ventured into an area of the forest that few dared to explore. The trees there were taller, their roots intertwining in intricate patterns on the moss-covered ground. The sunlight filtered through the canopy, creating a play of shadows that seemed to dance around her. The air was dense and cold, but charged with an energy that made Elyse's heart beat faster. After walking for hours, she found something she had never imagined, an immense cave, its entrance covered by vines and wildflowers. In the depths of the cave, enveloped in an ethereal blue glow, lay the dragon. Its form was magnificent, even as it rested motionless. Its scales shimmered like precious stones, and its wings, even folded, seemed made of stars. Elyse felt no fear, but a profound reverence. She knew she had found something much greater than herself. As Elyse watched, a soft and wise voice echoed through the cave. "You have found it." She turned quickly and saw a tall man with silver hair and eyes that seemed to contain all the knowledge of the universe. He wore a simple tunic, but the energy that emanated from him was almost palpable. "I am Saint Germain," he said with a serene smile, "and you, Elyse, have been chosen." Elyse felt her heart race. How did he know her name? Before she could ask, Saint Germain continued, "This dragon is more than a creature. He is a guardian of the realms, the bridge between the magical and mortal worlds. But he has been asleep for centuries, and the balance between the two worlds is unraveling. Only you can awaken him." Confused, Elyse tried to understand what he was saying. "Me? Why? I'm just a girl from the village. I'm not special." Saint Germain smiled again, but this time with a touch of melancholy. "You are more than you believe, Elyse. Within you is the light that can reverse the darkness threatening to consume both worlds. But for that, you will need to learn, grow, and face challenges you never imagined." The shock gave way to a curiosity that burned within her. What did it mean to be chosen, and what did she need to do to awaken the dragon? Before she could ask more, Saint Germain extended his hand, and a soft violet glow enveloped their palms, as if the very violet flame were present. "Come with me. The path will be long, and you will need strength and courage. But trust, Elyse. Everything begins with the first step." Elyse looked at the extended hand and hesitated for a moment. But then, as she looked again at the dragon, she felt something awaken within her. It was as if a dormant flame in her heart began to burn. Taking a deep breath, she grasped Saint Germain's hand. The journey had begun. Elyse barely had time to absorb the magnitude of everything revealed to her as she followed Saint Germain through the forest. The trail that had once seemed familiar now transformed before her eyes. The trees she passed daily seemed more alive, as if bending their branches to whisper ancient secrets. The birdsong became clearer, almost as if telling stories of the past. There was a world beyond the visible, one that Elyse was beginning to perceive, and it was both fascinating and overwhelming. Saint Germain, with his calm stride, began to explain to her about the dragon and its connection to the realms. Norway, he said, is a land where the veil between the magical and the mortal is thinnest. Once, these realms coexisted in harmony, but human greed disrupted this peace. Gradually, magical creatures retreated to the safety of their domains, and the dragons, guardians of the balance, fell into a deep sleep to avoid interference. And now? Elyse asked, her voice laden with concern. What happened to change all this? Saint Germain paused, his eyes gleaming with a mix of wisdom and sadness. There is something dark, a power growing among mortals, fed by fear and destruction. If we do not act, both worlds could be consumed. He stopped and looked at Elyse. But the dragon can restore the connection, and you are the key to awakening it. Elyse wanted to know more, but she felt that Saint Germain was leaving some details out. Perhaps he wanted her to discover them for herself. Despite her anxiety, something in his presence calmed her. He radiated an energy of peace, as if connected to something much greater than the physical world. As they walked, Saint Germain began to speak about the teachings she would need to absorb before facing her true challenge. Each step you take on this path will bring new lessons, some of which you will find in the most unexpected places. He paused and indicated a field covered with wildflowers. For example, did you know that each plant has its own vibration? That they can heal both body and spirit if you know how to listen to what they have to say? Eric told a similar story about a neighboring tribe. They started sacrificing animals, thinking it will appease the spirits. But it won't. It only attracts more darkness. These tensions began to weigh on Elyse, who felt the growing pressure to awaken the dragon before the imbalance reached an irreversible point. I feel like time is running out, she said to Saint Germain. He just nodded. It is. But rushing the process can be as dangerous as ignoring it. The conflict reached a critical point when the group found an ancient ruin, a place Saint Germain called the Portal of the Veils. It was a bridge between the two realms, but it was broken and exuded a dark energy. Elyse wanted to explore it, believing it might contain clues to awakening the dragon. But Saint Germain was adamant. Not yet. You are not ready. Eirik, however, supported Elyse. If there is something here that can help us, we should investigate. The tension between the two men grew until Saint Germain, frustrated, decided to continue alone. You need to understand that not every opportunity is a good opportunity, but do as you wish. He walked away, leaving Elyse with a weight of guilt. Within the ruins, Elyse and the rest of the group found ancient inscriptions that spoke of a sacrifice of light necessary to awaken the dragon. It was a disturbing revelation, but there was no time to process it. The portal began to react to their presence, and a wave of energy threw them out, injured and disoriented. Saint Germain found them hours later, his face heavy with disappointment. You touched what you should not have, he said, pointing to the crack that now crossed the sky above them. The following days were marked by tense silences in the group. The decision to explore the Portal of the Veils had created an invisible rift between Elyse and Saint Germain. Although he continued to guide them, his patience seemed lesser, and his teachings had become more rigid. Trust is the foundation of every journey, he said one night, looking directly at Elyse. Without it, even the noblest destiny can crumble. Elyse felt the weight of his words, but also the flame of her determination. Despite her anxieties, something in her presence calmed her. He radiated an energy of peace, as if connected to something much greater than the physical world. While Elyse deepened her spiritual connection, Ingrid began to feel the effects of the darkness on a more personal level. One morning, while gathering herbs alone, she found a fallen deer, its eyes dull and its skin marked by unknown symbols. It was an omen, but also a call. Ingrid began to question her role in the group. "I'm just a herbalist," she said to Eric one night. "I don't have light or magic like Elyse. What am I doing here?" Eric, usually reserved, shared something that surprised Ingrid. "My grandmother always said that the strongest among us is not the one who wields magic, but the one who understands the heart of the earth. You have a connection that Elyse does not. And maybe that's why you were chosen." The words of Eric brought a new purpose to Ingrid. She began to seek practical ways to help, combining her knowledge of plants with what she was learning about the magical world. One day, while mixing an ointment to heal wounds, she discovered that she could infuse her preparations with a soft energy, almost imperceptible, but incredibly effective. Saint Germain, observing from a distance, just smiled. Eric also struggled with his own issues. The idea of being a descendant of a lineage linked to dragons troubled him. He had always been a practical man, guided by logic and survival. Accepting that there was something mystical in his heritage was uncomfortable. On a starry night, while Elyse rested, Eric approached Saint Germain. "If dragon blood really runs in my veins, why don't I feel anything? Why am I not like Elyse?" Saint Germain responded with the patience of a master. "Each one manifests their power in different ways. You do not need to be like Elyse. You just need to be yourself. When the moment comes, you will know." A few days later, while crossing a suspension bridge over a rushing river, the group was attacked again by the Clivrar. This time Eric, who never backed down from a fight, felt something different. In the heat of the confrontation, his skin briefly glowed with a silvery hue, and he managed to repel a creature with a single strike of his blade. It was a brief moment, but enough to confirm what he was beginning to accept. There was a powerful force within him. As the group advanced, they began to realize that the dragon was not just a physical being, but also an entity divided into fragments scattered throughout the magical realm. Each fragment represented a virtue necessary to restore the balance: courage, wisdom, compassion, and sacrifice. After Saint Germain's departure, Elyse had a dream. In it, the dragon spoke to her, not in words, but in feelings. She felt an immense love, a connection with something much greater than herself, but also an overwhelming void, as if a part of it was missing. Upon awakening, she understood. The dragon was not just a guardian, it was a representation of the balance within herself. Determined to continue, Elyse made a decision that would change the course of the journey. "We can't wait for Saint Germain," she said to Eric and Ingrid. "We have to find the next fragment on our own, no matter what it costs." The absence of Saint Germain weighed on the group like a shadow. Ingrid, still recovering from her injuries, seemed more introspective than ever. Her usual practical strength seemed shaken, but she struggled to maintain Elyse's confidence. "You're right," she said softly, while Elyse tended to her wounds. "We can't stop, no matter what's ahead of us." Eric, however, did not hide his frustration. He had always been a man of action, but the lack of a guide like Saint Germain made him feel disoriented. "We're walking blind," he grumbled, while sharpening his blade near the campfire. "What if we're heading straight into a trap?" Elyse, trying to appear confident, felt doubts growing within her. The revelation of the sacrifice of light was a constant weight on her mind. She wondered if she would be able to do what was necessary, especially if it meant losing herself. But remembering the dream of the dragon, she felt a spark of courage rekindle. "I don't know what awaits us," she said, looking at Eric and Ingrid. "But I know I can't give up now. Something inside me tells me we're close." Guided by the inscriptions they found in the previous temple, the group headed to a region known as Valley de Glima, a valley shrouded in eternal mist. It was a place avoided even by the oldest villagers, considered cursed. Upon arrival, they immediately understood why. The mist was dense and cold, muffling sounds and distorting vision. The air seemed to carry a heavy energy that drained their strength. As they advanced, they began to hear whispers. At first, they were just murmurs, but soon they became clear words, each bringing to the surface the greatest fears and regrets of each of them. Ingrid heard the voice of her mother, reprimanding her for abandoning the village. Eric heard echoes of lost battles, where he failed to protect those he loved. Elyse, however, heard something different. The voice of her missing mother asking her to come home. The battle against the mist was not physical, but emotional. Elyse realized that the whispers were trying to separate them, exploiting their vulnerabilities. She held Ingrid's hand and called for Eric, uniting them in a circle. "We are stronger together," she said, trying to ignore her own fears that invaded her. It was at this moment that the mist dissipated for a brief instant, revealing a structure in the center of the valley, an altar made of black stone, where the third fragment rested. When Elyse touched it, a wave of warmth enveloped the group, silencing the whispers and bringing a sense of renewal. With the third fragment, the group began to feel a change in their dynamics. Elyse, now more confident, began to lead more assertively. Ingrid, inspired by Elyse's determination, began to explore her abilities with more focus, creating small talismans that seemed to repel the dark forces. Eric, on the other hand, began to accept his dragon blood heritage, realizing that the strength he feared was, in fact, his greatest ally. However, the tensions did not disappear completely. Saint Germain was still absent, and his absence raised questions about what he might be facing. Moreover, the revelation of the sacrifice of light continued to hang like a cloud over Elyse. Meanwhile, the village of Fjordsdalen continued to crumble. Ingrid, on one of her visits to gather supplies, found the village almost unrecognizable. People had divided into factions, some blaming the chosen ones like Elyse for their bad luck, while others resorted to dangerous rituals to ward off the darkness. An older man, Lars, approached Ingrid as she carried herbs for the group. "You need to resolve this soon," he said, his voice laden with desperation. "Or the village will be destroyed, whether by the monsters or by ourselves." Ingrid realized that time was running out, and when she reported the situation to the group, Elyse felt an even greater weight on her shoulders. Days later, while resting in a cave, Saint Germain finally found them. He was different, thinner, more tired, but with a fierce determination in his eyes. He brought with him the fourth fragment, that of compassion, which he had recovered from a place called the Lake of Forgotten Souls. "We are ready," he said, without preamble. "The next step is the awakening of the dragon." The group now possessed all the fragments, but awakening the dragon was still a mystery that haunted them. Saint Germain explained that the dragon slept in the heart of the Vale Mountain, a place that, according to legend, was the meeting point between the mortal world and the magical realm. "Each step we take in there will be a test," he warned. "The mountain is alive and will react to our intentions." The journey began with a walk along the steep slopes, shrouded in a mist so thick it obscured the sky. Ingrid, using her talismans to ward off the shadows, noticed that the fragments glowed more intensely as they approached their destination. Elyse felt the energy growing within her, but also a growing discomfort, as if something inside her was preparing for a decisive moment. Upon reaching the entrance to the mountain, they encountered a colossal gate made of stone, engraved with runes that glowed with a blue light. Elyse felt her hands tremble as she approached. The runes seemed to speak directly to her, their words echoing in her mind. "Only the one who carries the light can pass." Without hesitation, Elyse touched the gate, and it slowly opened, revealing a tunnel illuminated by a soft golden light. Inside the mountain, the the group was immediately separated by an invisible force. Each was taken to a different space where they would face their own fears and insecurities. For Elyse, this meant confronting her inner doubt about her ability to lead and her fear of failure. She was transported to a cave full of mirrors, where she saw various versions of herself. Some were frighteningly perfect, while others seemed fragile and broken. Each reflection mocked her, questioning her courage and abilities. For a moment, Elyse almost yielded to doubt, but then she remembered what she had learned on her journey. She closed her eyes and focused on the sensation of warmth that the fragments radiated from within her. "I am more than my failures," she said aloud. When she opened her eyes, the mirrors had disappeared, replaced by a door that led her back to the group. Ingrid was confronted by visions of the village in ruins, where the people she loved accused her of abandoning them. The weight of guilt almost made her give up, but she remembered her connection to the earth and the power she had discovered within herself. Using her talismans, Ingrid managed to dispel the illusions and move forward. Eric, on the other hand, faced his lineage. He saw the face of his grandmother, who told him, "You carry dragon blood, but you do not accept it. How can you protect this world if you do not accept who you are?" This confrontation led him to finally embrace his power, realizing that his strength was not a curse, but a gift. The group finally reunited in a spacious and luminous chamber, where the dragon rested. Its scales shimmered like polished gold, and its breath was so slow it seemed like a gentle breeze. In the center of the room was an altar, where the fragments were to be placed. Saint Germain guided Elyse to the altar, but stopped before reaching it. "This is the moment when you must decide," he said. "The sacrifice of light is an act of complete surrender. You must be willing to give up everything to restore the balance." Elyse hesitated. Saint Germain's words echoed in her mind. "Everything?" she asked. He nodded. At that moment, Ingrid and Eric intervened. "It doesn't have to be just you," Ingrid said, placing her hand on Elyse's shoulder. "We are with you. We always have been." Eric, with a silvery gleam in his eyes, added, "The sacrifice doesn't mean losing everything. It means giving of oneself for the greater good, and we will give everything we can." With the support of her friends, Elyse felt a new strength growing within her. She placed the fragments on the altar, and an intense light filled the chamber. The light turned into heat, enveloping Elyse, Ingrid, and Eric. Elyse felt as if all parts of herself were coming together. Her strengths, her weaknesses, her fears, and her hopes. When the light finally dissipated, the dragon opened its eyes. Its voice reverberated through the chamber, deep and full of power. "You have awakened me not with strength, but with compassion, courage, and wisdom. The balance is restored." Elyse fell to her knees, exhausted but alive. She realized that the sacrifice of light was not about loss, but about acceptance and transformation. Ingrid and Eric also emerged changed, their connections to the magical world stronger than ever. When the dragon finally awakened, the group felt a wave of energy reverberate through the mountain and beyond. The shadows that infested the realms began to dissipate, as if the dragon's presence had restored harmony to the land. But even with this victory, the dragon made it clear that the work was not yet finished. "I am the balance," it said, its voice echoing through the air. "But the darkness that threatens to destroy everything is fed by something much greater, the fear and greed of the human heart. For me to remain awake, and for the worlds to coexist in peace, this darkness must be confronted directly." Elyse, Eric, Ingrid, and Saint Germain understood that their journey did not end there. The force that controlled the Cliverar, the Veil-bearer, still represented a real and tangible threat. If not stopped, it could destroy the bond they had just restored. Before departing, the dragon offered a vision to the group. It projected images of an ancient circle of stones in ruins, surrounded by a black forest. That is where the veil was torn, and where it must be sealed again, it explained. But beware, the bearer will be waiting for you. He is the manifestation of the imbalance, and will not yield easily. Elyse felt a mix of fear and determination. The dragon, sensing her hesitation, leaned toward her. "You carried my light," it said, "and now you must use it. But remember, you are not alone." The final preparations. The journey to the Circle of Stones took the group back to the depths of the enchanted forest, where it all began. Elyse felt a strange familiarity as she walked those trails. It was as if the forest recognized her, the trees bending their branches to greet the light she now carried. As they advanced, each member of the group prepared in their own way. Ingrid, now more confident in her abilities, created new talismans to protect the group against the bearer's attacks. "These aren't perfect," she said, "but they should give us enough time." Eric began to fully trust his dragon blood heritage. He sharpened his blade and focused on channeling his ancestral strength, training to use the energy that now flowed freely through his body. Saint Germain, although still burdened with guilt for what he had hidden, focused on preparing protective and sealing magics. He knew this confrontation would be his last chance to redeem his past mistakes. Despite the growing unity, the group still faced tensions. Saint Germain, in particular, remained a point of conflict. Ingrid openly questioned his presence. "How do we know we can trust you this time?" she asked. Saint Germain bowed his head, accepting the criticism. "I made mistakes," he said, "but I am here because I believe in Elyse and in all of you. I will not fail again." Eric, although suspicious, supported Saint Germain. "What matters is what we do now," he said, his voice firm. "We are in this together." This exchange of words served to unite the group even more. They knew that, regardless of what happened, they needed to trust each other to succeed. Finally, as night fell, the group reached the Circle of Stones. The dragon's vision had been accurate. The stones were covered by a pulsating black light, as if absorbing the energy around them. In the center of the circle, a rift in the air rippled like dark water, exuding an oppressive aura. From within the rift, the veil-bearer emerged. It seemed larger and more terrifying than before, its human form deformed by shadows that moved incessantly. Its eyes glowed like black flames, and its voice was a roar that made the ground tremble. "The balance should never have been restored," it said, its voice seeming to come from multiple directions. "You defy the natural forces. Now, pay the price." The bearer did not wait. It launched a wave of energy that struck the stones around, fragmenting some of them and making the circle shudder. Elyse felt the heat of the light within her begin to react, almost as if preparing for the confrontation. Eric drew his blade, its edge now glowing with a silvery hue. Ingrid positioned herself behind him, holding a talisman that pulsed with a soft light. Saint Germain began to chant ancient incantations, creating a protective barrier around the group. Elyse stepped forward, positioning herself at the center. The bearer fixed its eyes on her, as if knowing she was the key to defeating it. "We are ready," Elyse said, her voice filled with conviction. The veil-bearer advanced, its shadows extending like claws, trying to envelop the group. Elyse felt the pressure of its presence like a crushing weight on her chest, but she remained steadfast. "Stay together," she shouted, while Saint Germain strengthened the barrier around them. Eric was the first to attack. He ran toward the bearer with his silvery blade in hand, delivering a precise strike that made the shadows recoil. However, the creature laughed, its voice resonating like thunder. "You cannot cut the void," it said, extending a hand that launched Eric backward with a wave of dark energy. Ingrid quickly activated one of her talismans, launching a beam of light that momentarily weakened the bearer. "Don't give up, Eric," she shouted, helping him to his feet. Elyse, feeling the light within her react, knew she had to act. She raised her hands, concentrating on the heat that came from her heart. A beam of golden light shot from her palms, striking the bearer and making it stagger. "So, the light bearer finally shows her power," it growled. "But will it be enough?" The bearer began to manipulate the environment to its advantage. The shadows around the stones became figures that attacked the group, each one trying to exploit their deepest fears. Elyse realized they were becoming overwhelmed. Despite their individual abilities, the bearer seemed invincible. It was then that she remembered the dragon's words, "You carry my light." Elyse understood what she needed to do. She couldn't just use the light. She had to become the light. "I will seal it," Elyse said to the group, her voice trembling but determined. Saint Germain immediately understood what she meant. "Elyse, this could cost more than you imagine. If we don't do this, everything will be lost," she replied, looking at Ingrid and Eric. "You have to trust me." Elyse walked toward the bearer, who watched with curiosity. "You think you can defeat me alone?" it mocked. But before it could react, Elyse closed her eyes and allowed the light within her to bloom completely. A burst of golden energy radiated from Elyse, enveloping the entire area. The bearer's shadows began to disintegrate, and its voice became a scream of rage and pain. "This isn't over," it shouted, before being consumed by the light. As the bearer disappeared, the rift in the circle of stones began to close. The balance was being restored. When the light finally dissipated, Elyse was kneeling on the ground. Ingrid and Eric ran to her, but they realized something was different. Her eyes glowed with the same golden light as the dragon, and a calm aura emanated from her. "Elyse, Eirik Gold, hesitant." She looked at them with a soft smile. "I am fine," she said, her voice echoing like the dragon's. "But I am no longer just Elyse." Saint Germain, observing from a distance, nodded. "You have become the link between the worlds," he said, "the guardian of the balance." Elyse knew her life would never be the same, but she accepted her new role with serenity. The sacrifice she had made was not of her life, but of her old identity. She was now more than mortal. She was a living bridge between the realms. When the group returned to the village of Fjordsdalen, they found the people already feeling the effects of the restored balance. The darkness that had enveloped the forest had disappeared, and the villagers seemed lighter, more hopeful. Lars, the old man who had spoken to Ingrid, approached them with tears in his eyes. "You did it," he said. "You saved us all." Ingrid decided to stay in the village, using her abilities to help rebuild it and protect the people. Eric, on the other hand, felt called to explore more of his heritage, seeking other places where he could make a difference. Elyse, now the guardian of the balance, knew that her journey was just beginning. As she observed the village one last time before departing, she felt the dragon's presence within her, like a constant flame. Months had passed since the dragon's awakening and the defeat of the Veil-bearer. The village of Fjordsdalen, once steeped in fear and despair, now thrived under Ingrid's protection. She had become a respected figure, known as the Keeper of Herbs, a healer who combined her connection to the earth with the magical talismans she had learned to create during the journey. Ingrid found purpose in caring for her community and ensuring that the harmony between mortals and the forest remained intact. Eric had departed, but not without leaving his mark. He now traveled the Nordic lands, guided by his lineage and the strength he had discovered within himself. Carrying the silvery blade that was a symbol of his dragon blood, Eric became a living legend, helping other communities face their own shadows. Although he missed Ingrid and Elyse, he knew his mission lay elsewhere. Elyse, or rather, the new entity she had become, now wandered between the realms. As the guardian of light, her presence was felt in times of need. She could no longer live as a mortal. but she accepted this transformation as part of her new identity. On a calm night, while walking along the shores of a lake surrounded by the northern lights, Elyse felt the dragon's presence within her. "You are not alone," it murmured in her mind, its voice as comforting as the warmth of a home. Elyse smiled, looking at the reflection of the dancing lights in the water. "I know, and I never will be." Even as Elyse wandered between the worlds, she occasionally returned to the village, like an invisible guardian. On one of these visits, she saw Ingrid teaching the children the secrets of plants and the earth, and felt pride in the path her friend had chosen. Elyse also followed from afar the adventures of Eric, hearing stories from villagers about a warrior with shining eyes who defeated monsters and protected the innocent. Even separated from them, she felt connected by an unbreakable bond. With the Veil-bearer destroyed and the balance restored, the mortal and magical realms entered an era of peace not seen in centuries. Magical creatures began to reappear in the forests, cautiously interacting with mortals. Elyse's presence, as a living link between these two worlds, was a constant reminder that harmony was possible. On a silent night, where the Norwegian sky was lit by the northern lights, a small child walked along the edge of the forest in Fjordsdalen. His name was Leif, and he was known for his boundless curiosity. As he explored, he felt something different in the air, a soft warmth, like an invisible embrace. Turning a corner, he found something surprising, a small golden flower, growing alone amidst the moss. Leif knew he had never seen anything like it. He knelt to touch it, but before he could, a soft voice resonated in his mind. "This flower is a gift," the voice said, full of warmth and love. "It is a reminder that light is always present, even in the darkest places." Leif looked around but saw no one. He felt a thrill of excitement, as if he had just witnessed something magical. He carefully picked the flower and ran back to the village, telling everyone he met about his discovery. Although many laughed, saying it was just a child's story, Ingrid, now an older woman, smiled. She knew exactly where the flower came from. From afar, Elyse watched. Invisible to mortal eyes but always present, she walked between the worlds, ensuring that the peace they had achieved continued to flourish. And as the light of the aurora danced in the sky above, she smiled, knowing that her journey, though different now, would never end. In this magical and transformative story, we embark on a journey of self-discovery and balance between worlds. Elyse, a young woman deeply connected to nature, is chosen by Saint Germain to awaken a slumbering dragon, the guardian of equilibrium between the mortal and magical realms. Accompanied by Ingrid, a wise herbalist, and Eric, a warrior with dragon blood, she faces internal and external challenges, exploring virtues like courage, compassion, and wisdom. In the end, Elyse symbolically sacrifices herself, becoming the guardian of light and a living bridge between worlds, ensuring an era of peace and harmony. Do you believe there's a light within all of us capable of transforming challenges into strength? What sacrifice would you be willing to make to restore balance in your life or the world around you? If you had the chance to explore a magical world like Elyse, what would be your greatest lesson or discovery? If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like and comment. Share how you would face your own challenges and uncover your true potential. Want to dive deeper into your journey of self-transformation? Download our exclusive ebook, available in the pinned comment, and start turning limitations into personal power today. Don't stop here. Pick one of the videos on the screen to continue your journey of learning and inspiration. The adventure has just begun.